So you performed your walk around on your boat trailer, or you went back and thought about it saying, you know, it's been like 2 or 10 years since I've done any maintenance to my hubs, and you've made the decision, I need to either replace the grease or the oil in the hubs. I'm going to have to tear it down on this boat trailer. That's great that you did that. We have some videos on that, but there's another part in here that you need to look at, and that is going to be the wear sleeve. We're going to show how to inspect it, how to remove it, and how to reinstall. It can be tricky, it can be a pain, but we're going to see if we can help you out to make your install easier and get you on the water. So we have a Vault UFP setup that's running the hybrid grease on it. We're just using this for demonstration. I got it chucked up in a vise, so hopefully you can see it. We're going to remove this wear sleeve. This would be kind of across the board on the wear sleeves as far as removal and install. There's a couple of differences. We'll explain those as we get into it. But this is just to better help you out to what to look for on the wear sleeve to see if it's in need of replacement and maybe how to do it. Because like I said, it can be a challenge. If you're not careful, you can damage and possibly even ruin the spindle on your axle, whether that's a removable, replaceable spindle or if it's a complete axle assembly. So you got to be careful. So we're going to pull the hub off. We're not going to show the bearing pack or lubrication replacement portion of this video. We already have some videos on that. So if you haven't checked those out, we'll leave those in the description or somewhere here up on the screen that talks about Vault, that talks about Trailer Buddy, that uses the oil lubrication system, and a few others. We'll just put what we've got on there. And remember to check our description below. We'll leave a link to some of the products we can find, some of the tools. I will tell you, a lot of these sleeves are specific to the manufacturer and to the size. So you may even have to get a micrometer out and measure this to get the correct one, and you don't want to install the wrong one, and I'll show you why that is here shortly. So we're gonna wipe all this grease off, and I'll show you where the sleeve is. So this right here is the wear sleeve. I believe it's made out of stainless steel. There's some manufacturers now that are just using a polished spindle. They don't use the wear sleeve, but a lot of them still have this. This is a newer setup, and even the old ones have it. And what will happen, the seal rides on this, and that's what keeps the grease, hybrid grease, or oil lubrication, helps to keep it in. But due to that friction, just from use and abuse and just from time, this will wear out. I will tell you, many of the times it does not get replaced just due to people don't have one. They don't have the knowledge to change it out, and they're a headache to get off, and people are intimidated by them. Sometimes they not only intimidate me, but sometimes they aggravate me because some that's been on there forever, it's just hard to get them off, and it is, you know, borderline. Sometimes you can damage the spindle, so you got to take your time. I'm going to show you a couple of techniques I use. We'll see what your thoughts are on that. So let's see if we can get this booger off. I'm hoping we can, since it's a newer one, but that's not a guarantee. It may just be just as tough as all the rest of them. So when it comes to the sleeve, there's lots of different setups. I will not leave a link in the description for the sleeves because they're very specific to the spindle. You're going to need to do some of your own homework on that. You got to get on the Googler, and you're going to have to figure some of that out because I don't know what you have. You're not going to know what you have until you get in there and start looking. The main differences are, this is a solid sleeve, so there's no hole in it. Some have a hole, some have a half hole, like a notch. What the difference is, this would be if you're running an oil setup, and if you're not running a setup to where you would put a grease zert in the end of the spindle to final fill the spindle before final assembly. The other one would be for the grease, it would be for the grease zert to do that. So that's the main differences. If you're utilizing a grease or a hybrid grease, you got to make sure you line the hole up. If you cover that hole up that's right there, when you go to pump the spindle full of grease, it is not going to do anything. You're not going to get a full fill in order to get the positive pressure needed in order to keep the water out, to keep that positive pressure against it and the element. So a couple of ways I've seen guys pull these off, try to take a pair of channel locks, vice grips. That may work for you. If it works good, that's great. Do the best you can do. I see a lot of times try to come in with a chisel this direction, and you can just kind of ping that around and it will take it off. The problem with it is, especially if your chisel is sharp, it will start to ding the surface that's machined underneath here. And if you get to, this one was going to run an O-ring underneath it. If you get to that point, you're going to have trouble. It's probably going to ruin that O-ring surface. You have to be very careful at that point. If you can't clean it up with some emery cloth, you're going to have to replace the arm, or you could replace the whole axle. I've seen a bunch of different ways. I've seen some service manuals that actually tell you to cut it off. So I'm going to show you that method. That method does work. It works fine, but you have to be careful. You have to make sure that when you cut it, you only cut this. If you cut through and put a big old cut in your spindle, it could allow oil to penetrate beyond the O-ring when you get your final assembly, or it could even cause some grease to leak out if it's big enough. There's another method that you see sometimes in the heavy machinery industry where you ping this off. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. I'm going to demonstrate it. Don't know if it'll work on this one. The cutting method will work every time. It's a guarantee to work, but again, you have to be careful. You got to use a sharp chisel, but with that sharp chisel, you can't cut too deep. So we're going to try to ping this one off in the first place to see if it will come off that way. Then I'll show you the cut method. So I'm going to take a couple of hammers. I got two different size ones here. It really doesn't matter. And you're just going to try to ping it. So you're going to back the hammer up on one side, and you're not going to strike it super hard. You're just trying to ping it to open it up. And even with this method, be careful not to try to damage or nick anywhere on the spindle. If you do, you have to clean that up with some emery cloth. I'm going to work the best as I can around the camera. So I am going to grab a pair of pliers to see if it's loose. I'm not going to put a ton of pressure on there just to see if it removes. I'll be right back. So now that we've been pinging on it, we're going to grab it with a pair of channel locks or adjustable pliers. I believe these are 9.5 channel locks. And we're not going to try to crush it. We're just seeing if we can grip it, see if we get anything. Like I said before, I'm not a big fan of the ping. I don't think it works in these applications very well. It may work rarely. It is not going to work on this one, in my opinion. We can sit there and ping on it all day long, but I don't think it's going to work. So I'm going to show the cut method. Like I said, you can get a chisel in the back side of here, and I'll see if I can tap on it a little bit, but my chisel is sharp, so I don't want to do it too much. And you can just walk it around. The problem is up here on this side of the flange, there's not a lot of room to get in there. On the sides of the flange, it's a little shallower. So like, have you seen that? It's moving. So you can baby it out, and I hate to tell you to do this, but you may want to use a blunt tip drift or punch, or dull your chisel out and just go back and forth. And you can, I don't know if the camera picks up on that or not, you can get it off that way. If I sit here and mess with it, I mean, it'd probably come off in 5 minutes. I mean, not the end of the world. I mean, like I said, I don't know if you can see that moving. But if you shine the camera up here, shine the flashlight, not the camera, but up here, I don't know if you can see that grease. So we have moved it. We probably moved it 1/16 of an inch. So let's try the cut method now. And this is where a sharp chisel will come into play, and you're literally going to cut the sleeve off. You're going to just make you a line. Like I said, some service manuals will tell you to do that. And if you're soft with it, if you just take your time, what happens when you cut through, it will spread open like a spring and it will come off. I'm gonna grab it. And it didn't even have to do a full cut. I just babied it out of there, and I let the sleeve do the fracturing, so I didn't fracture the spindle. So now that we've got it off, I showed you the cut method, which is what I prefer to use. I'm gonna show you the main reason I don't prefer the pinging method. This assembly here will never be used on a trailer. This is for demonstration purposes only. I hope to be able to pick this up in the camera. That's why I showed the ping method. I don't know if it will, but if we can zoom in, from pinging on it, it did leave some indentations on this surface. Now, will they seal? Probably so. You could probably polish that up. It's probably a non-issue, probably come right off. I do not prefer using the ping method on this. I really only prefer using the cut method, or coming in from the side with your chisel and just walking it off slowly. But if you do it, you with the chisel and just will baby it and just take your time, it will basically take itself off. It's not hard, but I'm gonna tell you right now, you may be some pingers out there. I'm not a pinger when it comes to this. It can ruin the spindle, or at least make it where you have some cleanup. So at this point, once you do this, if you run the O-ring method, which O-rings are usually going to be on your oil bath or your hybrid grease, which turns into oil once it gets heated up, you're going to remove that O-ring, and if it has any type of corrosion or anything nasty, depending on how thick it is or how bad it is, you can start out with some 80 grit, just do a fine polish. I like ripping mine in half. Just do a fine polish, start with 80 grit. You don't want to take a ton of material off. You're not trying to machine it, you're just trying to clean it. So I was gonna do this to see if we can see any of them ping indentations. It may make them visible. Wipe it off. I don't think they'll pick up on the camera. I can see a few. They will polish out. We're gonna move up from 180 to 120 grit just to make it smooth as a baby's butt. Not sure if you can say that, but I'm going to. It's like with anything, just take your time, do it right. Unless you're impatient, then just do it wrong, and then you can do it again down the road. It's whatever floats your boat. Now, once you've gotten to this stage, you're pretty much ready to go. You need to spray this off with brake cleaner, clean it up, but if you have a grease zerk style system that's got the hole in it, you're going to go ahead and put your zert in and put a little oil or a little grease out of that to get whatever metal shavings and crap that we got in the hole. You want to flush that out, then clean it with brake cleaner, and then you're about ready to put the new sleeve on. So on this sleeve, let me see if I've got one. See if I've got the right one. This one does not have a hole in it. I'm going to show it for demonstration purposes. This is for a oil setup, not just for the grease. So I'm going to take this one back off once we're done, because I got some other stuff we're going to do with it. But I'm going to replace the O-ring with a new O-ring. And always look at your new O-ring to make sure it's a good one. Make sure it doesn't have any nicks or any junk in it. Slip that over. And if you want to, you can put a little lubrication on there or wipe it inside the repair sleeve or the wear sleeve. They're, the automotive industry, they're usually called a repair sleeve. In the marine industry, they're just called a wear sleeve or a sleeve. So I'm gonna grab a little bit of lubrication, put that on there, and see if we can drive this bad boy on. So now that I got my sleeve prepped, like I said, I got a little lubrication in there, we're gonna drive it on, and that's where you're gonna need a sleeve install tool. If you wanna buy one of those, Google sleeve install tool, and if you can find one, you let me know. I've never used one in my life. I have seen them, but I've never used them. So I'm going to show you the secret tool that I utilize in order to install our sleeves on. And it is the top secret inner bearing that come off of the spindle. If I've gone to this much trouble, I'm going to replace my bearings, but if not, I'm going to buy me a bearing. They're cheap. You're probably $3 to $10, depending on where you buy these from. This is going to work great. It's going to help you put it on there, and you don't have to source the tool. So you're going to put this on. You're going to slide the bearing on just like it would go on if it had a drum on it. But the problem is you got to hit that with a hammer. So you want to get it, you can push it more than you think. At that point, you get your piece of pipe. I use a heavy piece of pipe that I've got because it fits several different ones. It's old and rusty like me, but you can use some like rigid conduit that you pick up at Lowe's or Home Depot, one of the big box stores like that, cut you a small piece and just make you a driver. So once you get that, and you can use a rubber mallet, you can use a dead blow. You do want to pay attention to it as you go to make sure it's not going on crooked, make sure it's not, walking around funny. You just want to kind of baby it on there. And if it gets, if it looks like it's going crooked one side or the other, put more pressure on the side that's not as far as pushed in. Now I will tell you, on the back side of many of the sleeves, they are a little irregular. So like this one, it's not square on the back, so it may look like it's going on crooked when it actually is not. So just look at it, just take your time. You want to go till it stops. How do you know when it stops? Because it will completely change the sound. It'll have that dead sound on it. You can also look in here. You can see where the old spindle kind of curved up, where it had that radius on it. that's going to match into that. The issue would be if you left it too far out, or if you installed the wrong sleeve. What would happen is when you go to install that bearing, there would be an air gap in behind this and the spindle. Your bearing is not going to seat properly. Once it gets some wear, it's going to feel tight. You're going to be able to do your adjustment on it. It's going to be great, but once you get some wear on it, it's going to cause the hub to come loose. You're going to have some slack in it. I have seen some guys put this together and try to crank it down with a bearing. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to drive it on, and here's what I'm going to tell you to do. If you get this on there and you think, man, I got it on crooked, or I've dented it, maybe I didn't use a bearing, I just use a piece of pipe. If you use this piece of pipe, it is going to ruin that 10 out of 10 times. Use the bearing, but then don't reuse the bearing for anything else. I would recommend, snipping that cage off just so you use the inner part of it and to drive it on there. If there's any question, cut it off. Just take your chisel, put your chisel back. That's it. Slip it off. Let it do the work. Let your chisel do the work. Don't overthink it. Don't underthink it. Just do it right. Do it right the first time. But if you don't do it right the first time, do it right the second time before you get on the road. So if you need to replace this, what you're going to look for, I've left that part out. Like I said, this will wear on that seal, and it will have some, it won't be square across there. It won't be flat. It won't be smooth. It will have rub marks, wear marks. It'll be ripply. If it looks like that, just because it's black doesn't necessarily mean anything. But if it has, if it's not smooth, if you feel any type of ridging on there, just replace it. Just stop what you're doing. If you need to order them, I'm going to recommend not going to a regular part supply for utility trailers unless they also carry marine parts, because this is its own industry, its own type of seal. It uses a completely different seal than the utility trailer world, different sleeves, pretty much different everything, because it's made to go in the water, just like your boat is. So it's a special industry. That's why sometimes we can't leave a bunch of links because they're hard to find. But if you will get the Googler out and find you a good marine supply online, you will likely find what you need, but you may need to buy you a micrometer or a pair of cheap calipers that we will leave a link to online to help you mic that to make sure you get the right one. And if it's got a grease hole in it, make sure you buy one with the grease hole. If it's got the grease hole in it, make sure that you put it over the grease hole when you put it back so your grease comes out. So I hope this doesn't scare you, or maybe it scares you enough to where, hey, I'm not going to try that. Go to a qualified shop, let them do it, make sure they can handle it. But if not, get you a good sharp chisel, take your time, baby it off of there, and you'll put it back together and you'll be good to go. Now, if you need to know how to repack with hybrid grease, or if you may be running an oil application, you're in luck. We have some videos on that. We'll leave a link in the description below, show you how to set a bearing adjustment and all kinds of things like that in order to keep you rolling, keep you going down the road, and keep you having fun with your family on the water this summer. Appreciate you watching, and we will see you down the road.